Welcome to the Headley Highlight Show's Headley Headspaces. The Headspaces are a series of thoughts and musings I have during the course of the week, and I chew all over them and I share them with you. And before I start in on this week's Headspace, I'd just like to have a special thanks to all those people who are now subscribers onto my YouTube channel. When I checked back a week ago, I had 62 subscribers, and prior to that I had 52. Now I've got 200, which is amazing. I would like to get to 210 by the end of the week. So I do hope if you're listening to this, you can help. Also, please make a donation at DeniseHeadley.com, or you can join my show live on X every Friday, 8 p.m. GMT, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Enough of the promotion, let's get back onto this Headspace. And this week's Headspace is called The Decree Nisi Will Be in the Post. So for all of those people who have not had the misfortune of being divorced, the Decree Nisi is the final letter of termination of that contract and union. Before you get to that point, there is invariably marital breakdown, a lack of communication, internal arguing, the ultimate separation, with the Nisi dropping on the mat in due course. You probably get a text message now or an email. Now, the reason I've given that analogy is because I think there's been a major separation in the relationship. Now, the relationship that I'm making reference to is the Transatlantic Partnership. The Transatlantic Partnership refers to the extensive political, economic, and security partnership / relationship between the United States and the European countries. The reason I think the marriage between the United States and Europe is now at the point of separation is because of the peace talks that are taking place or took place in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, with President Putin and Mr. Trump, President Trump. That 90-minute call, which took place on the 12th of February, marked the beginning, everybody is hoping, for a cessation of violence in the Ukraine. The problem with the cessation of violence in the Ukraine and that plan is that the other person in this relationship, Europe, or should I say the other entity in this marriage, Europe, doesn't want an end to the conflict. So these two partners in the relationship, which of course is unequal, just like in a marriage when the communication breaks down, now are opposite sides of the aisle, keeping with the marital and divorce analogies. It's important to note in this partnership, the Transatlantic Partnership, it began in the mid-20th century after the Second World War and the creation of NATO as one of the institutions of this marriage, along with the European Union, which works in tandem with the Transatlantic Partnership. But this was never an equal relationship. Like so many dynamics in a marriage, there's always a dominant partner. And the dominant partner in this relationship was always America. America had the ability to have the power projection, the reason that it has 800 bases all over the planet, as opposed to just 2 for China. Incidentally, the UK has 100 bases on the planet, one of the reasons why it likes flexing its muscles. But in this unequal relationship, there were accommodations, just like in any marriage. But that consensus changed on the 12th of February. It changed because Mr. Donald Trump, or should I say it changed when Donald Trump was elected. And then the action that took place to solidify said change took place on the 12th of February, when Mr. Trump and Putin had a conversation, apparently for 90 minutes on the phone. The subsequent response by Europe, the other partner in this, was just like when you find out that someone in the marriage has not been keeping to the contractual obligations. You have a rabbit in the headlight moment. It was shock and awe. We were bombarded with stories that Mr. Trump had been captured by Russian misinformation, and his actions were that of lunacy. The other European partners screamed, and suddenly there were separate mediation meetings taking place. And by the 16th of February, Keir Starmer, one of the minor partners in this relationship, seeking to absolve his woeful domestic performance with something of an international performance on the world stage as the leader of the free and secure European world, he committed troops on the 16th of February. And the sweaty cabal of the European Union, with its unelected bureaucrats, completely out of touch with the wider family in the relationship, which often happens. You know, sometimes you're so busy squabbling the senior partners, mother and father, they all forget all the children. And all the children in this situation are the citizens of Europe. They have been completely forgotten in this relationship. Watched mystified as their leaders gathered around each other, talking about European security in the absence of them and Zelensky at the peace talks. This rabbit in the headlight moment, stupefied by the reality of their belligerence and self-harm, greeted the European Union starkly, squarely on the nose, like a punch to the chin. And they suddenly realized that in the relationship, in this partnership, this marriage that they had participated in, it no longer had their needs at its center. As they watched J.D. Vance address the Munich security and tell them that the problem in Europe was not its enemies or their less than robust democracies, which could be influenced easily by a few £1,000s from investors in bot farms to skew their elections with a few PR exercises. What they said was that this relationship is having a reset. Why? Because we no longer converge or align around some of the core values that we used to hold when we were a couple, allegedly. And what Mr. Vance was basically arguing as he delivered the reality pill to the Munich Security Conference was that America was downsizing, despite the fact they were telling everybody it was a renaissance. They're downsizing. They're no longer providing security for the European Union and its satraps, already vacillated democracies. And because you foolishly chose to follow the court jester, half-rate comedian stroke leader of national suicide, Mr. Zelensky, that's on you. You manage it because we're pulling out. We're not putting any more money behind this, and we're not giving you any more money. And you're not going to be at the peace talks either, because you both are minnows. You, Zelensky, are both minnows. My new cogs in the relationship who were delusional about your position. And now the delusion has revealed itself and the reality absolutely is painful. Just like in a marriage when you realize that it's actually all gone wrong and relate is not going to fix anything. And this is what I think has happened over the last couple of days. Europe will be waiting for the decree Nisi. It might not come very quickly, because you know what it's like when you're having to have a divorce. You've got to go through all of the items that need to be shared, or the ones that you think you can take, when in fact you know that you're not really going away with very much, especially when you're the weaker partner. So this is going to take a while, but this is the beginning of that fracture, in my opinion. I think this is the end of the transatlantic partnership. It may take a few more years for the complete dissolution of that relationship, but I believe this is the end. I don't think America for much longer wants to deal with Europe as an entity, because it says, frankly, you don't represent your constituencies. You ban elections. You have massive censorship programs. You jail people for praying, whether you agreed with his talking points or not. That was the basis of the withdrawal. And no matter how many troops Keir Starmer suggests that he would like to place in the front line, this was another pipe dream of his to bolster his failing popularity at home. There's nothing like a good war to get the public behind you, is there, Keir? But now he looks blindsided, because the fact is, America is NATO. And if America is now saying, all of you European countries, you need to cough up a bit more cash. I'm not backing you anymore. So don't go out there and start wars because Article 5 doesn't apply to you anymore. And you need to increase your spending at a time when all of your constituents in your countries, your citizens, are facing a cost of living crisis. That's on you. If you decided to follow the half-rate comedian and the Biden faction in the White House, which was not just the Biden faction, because Europe has been slavishly following American foreign policy since Clinton. If you agree to your own national suicide by blowing up Nord Stream and then sending huge amounts of your funding, which you could have put to your public services, over to the war to be blown up, that's on you. We're not covering you no more. It's done. That's what this is. It's a reset, people. And the Nisi is going to be in the post forthwith. So in summation, this peace treaty between America and Putin is the beginning of the resumption of diplomatic relations. Ukraine, as a condition of the peace treaty, will not be allowed back into NATO. Russia gets to keep all the land, and they're going to resume diplomatic relations and look at ways in which the conflict can be resolved long term. Europe and the sweaty cabal that runs it faces an opportunity. Leaders like Orban and some others, I can't recall their names right now, could use this as an opportunity to say that Europe needs to be more responsive to its communities and look at reforming the European Union. If that doesn't happen, let's see how that goes, because we all know Schultz on I think it is Wednesday or Thursday of this week, it's bye-bye to Schultz in Germany because they have elections. That's going to be game over for him. So maybe this is also an opportunity for Europe to reassert itself, for them to have a proper reset and be a bit more introspective and not be led by this foreign policy that the American people no longer want. They're sick of war. They want something else. We're sick of war. We want something else too over here. So why don't we just try that for a change? Anyway, this is a really long headspace, and I think it's time for me to conclude. I hope you've enjoyed my headspace this week called The Decree Nisi is in the Post. The end of the Transatlantic partnership. Yes, I've kind of renamed it, but I'm at the end now, so I've got feedback and thoughts. What can I say? Anyway, jump up in the YouTube, in the DMs, make a donation, become the 201st person on my YouTube. That would be so cool. Leave a message as well. And you can also donate at DeniseHeadley.com. Come back next week. Thanks for listening, and cut. Bye!